There is no other movie that would be more fitting for me to start this new channel than Halloween, my favorite slasher franchise of all time. And now it's time to give you my opinion on the new Halloween Kills movie, review it, pros and cons, how I review everything I've ever reviewed. That's how I'm going to review horror movies as well. What's up? Welcome to the channel. My name is Hexshot. If this is your first time stopping by, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit your notification bell, and let me know what you think about my new channel here, where I'm reviewing all things horror movies. And again, we're going to start with Halloween Kills. Go over the movie. There are going to be spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movie, watch it first. Come back here and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your opinion of this new movie is. Let me get this mask off, because it's kind of hard to breathe in this thing, and let's talk about it. The guys that play the Shape in this movie, Nick Castle, James Courtney, man, breathing in that thing is kind of tough. So huge props to them, man. Again, thank you for joining me on my brand new channel here. I absolutely love horror movies, dude. This has to happen. It had to happen, and this is my favorite franchise of all time. Okay, when it comes to slasher movies, for sure, Halloween is my favorite. Really, when it comes to horror movies in general, man, to me it's just hard to beat Halloween. So it's very fitting that we start here. So this movie has a lot of great things in it. It has some bad things too, but we're going to kind of cover that here. And basically, we kind of pick up where we left off from 2018. If you're not familiar, 1978, the original movie, 2018, Halloween Kills. That's the timeline. All the rest of the movies, you can pretty much forget them in this timeline, okay? So we kind of pick up with Cameron. He finds Officer Hawkins, who actually survives the knife wound and being run over by Michael's new doctor, surprisingly enough. And then we get a saying in this movie that we get a lot. Needs to die. He needs to die. Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. You're going to hear that a lot in this movie. But then, one of the coolest things about this movie that I absolutely love, we go back to 1978. We actually fill that gap in. Now remember, Halloween 2 never happens in this timeline. So really, we take the events of the original Halloween and we get to explore what happens after that night. Basically, after that movie ends, where does Michael go? What happens? And that's where we see a young Officer Hawkins on Michael's trail, he's a shitty shot. Just like everybody in horror movies, their guns that they pick are typically garbage, and they suck at shooting, okay? He has an opportunity to kill Michael literally top down. He's looking down at him and still misses the shot. He ends up killing his own officer, or his partner there, which is unfortunate, but we get the iconic Samuel Loomis back in the action, man. And the guy that plays them, it's a character that plays him, and then another guy that does the voice. Apologize, I don't know everybody's name here, but man, they do a phenomenal job. And it was nice to see. He's not Donald Pleasance, man. Rest in peace, dude. But it was nice to see somebody that looks and sounds just like him, man, because he's so iconic to the series. It's really a bummer that he died in the 90s, and I hate it, but it was so nice seeing him. And we get this really cool shot of the cops, Michael and Dr. Loomis, right behind him, where essentially Michael's been caught, and that's how he gets caught after the first film. So we get to fill that little bit of storyline in there. So we get a ton of callbacks to 1978, the Myers house. We get a new Myers house that's been fully renovated. But Michael doesn't really like the renovations, and we'll see that here in a little bit. But we catch up with Tommy Doyle, the original Tommy Doyle, Lindsay Wallace, also Lonnie. Remember this?
Get your ass out of there, Lonnie.
That was kind of a good Donald Pleasance, I think. We actually see him, and they kind of fill in his storyline because we don't see him a lot in the original film, except when he's fucking with Tommy Doyle and picking on him there, and then, of course, the scene with Dr. Loomis. But they kind of fill in his story, and he has an encounter with Michael Myers in this timeline here. So that's kind of cool. And basically, Tommy Doyle, what looks like it's going to be a kind of a comedic stand-up, he really is a crowd killer here and tells the story of Michael Myers and brings Marion, the original nurse, and light to their story there. So that's kind of a cool little thing. So we spend some time at the bar and catching up with these characters. And really, one of the biggest things in this movie that you're going to see 3 timelines essentially. You're going to see what Michael's doing, causing havoc like Michael does. You're going to see Laurie Strode and what she does. And her, unfortunately, a lot of her role is set up in the hospital, which is going to set up nicely for the movie following this. Because remember, this is a 3-movie series in this new Halloween timeline here, okay? So Laurie Strode doesn't play a huge part. It's more of a filler and kind of talking with Hawkins while they're both in hospital beds. She tries to make an attempt to get up and out of there and kill Michael Myers, but, she actually gets hurt even worse in the process. So she's essentially bedridden until the next movie. And then we also have Tommy Doyle, who kind of leads the charge to kill Michael Myers. Unfortunately, there's another inmate that escapes along with Michael Myers, and somehow they mix up this like sub 5 foot long hair, kind of bigger dude for the leaner Michael Myers, and people actually think that this other inmate is Michael. So they mix him up a lot in this movie with him, which is just kind of crazy. It's more kind of filler there. About 20 minutes into the movie is where we pick up from the end of the movie, after the 1978 callback, after we pick up with Cameron and Hawkins. That's where we see Laurie Strode and Allison actually going to the hospital while her house is burning down to the ground. Michael Myers, how did he survive? Well, a firefighter falls through a structural collapse in the floor. Michael's hiding in the armory, right? And then he pops the door open and kills 11 firefighters, dude. Brutally. Halloween Kills is seriously Halloween Kills. He is fucking brutal, and he also kills a shit ton of people, dude. This movie, this is the most I've ever seen Michael Myers kill. Remember, he only killed 3 people in the original movie. 3. That's it. And he killed a few more in the second movie, but again, that timeline doesn't play in here. He killed some more in 2018. In this movie, dude, this has to be an absolute world record from Michael Myers in this movie. It is intense, and the kills are freaking brutal. Every single blood wound shot we get has an extra like blood pump or something coming out of whatever wound that may be. The kills are brutal, and it's pretty awesome. And I heard there was some controversy about the whole firefighter scene. It's like, did they really have to put a disclaimer like no firefighters were injured in the making of this movie? It's a movie, dude. It's a movie. Whoever wrote that, that's just idiotic. It's a movie, okay? The firefighters signed up to play a part, and all those scenes turned out to be really, really awesome. We get the unfortunate couple that lived next to Laurie Strode, Sandra and Phil, for a little comedic relief. And this is one thing that this movie does good. The pacing is actually really awesome. There are some dry moments here and there, but that actually comes a little bit later on in the film when we're getting the filler for, the fake Michael Myers and that whole pursuit and that timeline, the filler with Tommy Doyle and all that. But we get some comedic relief with Sandra and Phil. I actually like this couple, man. They're really funny. Phil actually comes downstairs and has sleep apnea, and he's like, man, this thing smells like your freaking cigarettes that your mom smoked or something when she wore this thing.
Goddamn sleep apnea, man. Smells like Lucky Strikes from when your mother borrowed it.
And Sandra says, don't fuck with Laurie Strode, which is absolutely true.
That stink ain't cigarettes. It's Laurie Strode's house on fire.
Well, from upstairs, it looks like they put it out. But that nutbag lives a highly flammable lifestyle.
Do not talk no shit about that woman. She will fuck you up.
So it's kind of funny. And then Sandra has a little plane malfunction. And that's where we see Michael Myers actually come in. And Michael Myers is not a fan of light, okay? So he busts the light out. Phil gets really freaked out. Phil actually gets slammed. His head, Michael Myers actually reaches through the window, slams his head up in the wall. Another brutal kill. And then Sandra does something really interesting. She goes to unlock the door. She has plenty of time here. And stops and looks at Michael Myers. Has a knife. Doesn't take a swing. And Michael Myers, again, is not a fan of lights. He takes that fluorescent bulb straight to the neck, dude. And you see the fluorescent bulb after he broke it in half. See that thing fill up with freaking blood. It is brutal. And she's alive while she sees Phil, who was still alive, put on the table by Michael Myers. and stabs like 3 or 4 knives into him, and she watches it all. So it is kind of a brutal scene there, to say the least. But again, it's Michael freaking Myers. So what do you expect? The rest of the pacing for the movie, as we start to close in on what is going to happen in the ending of this movie, we of course get the pursuit. And one thing that Tommy Doyle is really good at now is apparently getting a bunch of people riled up to kill Michael Myers, because he is tired of his town constantly having this boogeyman persona, and he's ready to kill the boogeyman tonight, and he says so plenty of times. Evil dies tonight is, again, something that is said all throughout this movie, and by the end of it, I was really tired of hearing it, to be quite honest with you.
Evil dies tonight! Evil dies tonight!
So, we get Lindsay Wallace, Marion, and the couple that we meet in the bar there, the nurse and the doctor. And the nurse apparently knows how to shoot this freaking Desert Eagle that she's about to show us that she really cannot shoot. We see the asshole kids from the beginning, and they're in the park saying that Michael is playing a game with them. Well, Michael is really not playing any games with them. They think so. But again, Michael doesn't generally kill kids, although he did in 2018 with the hunter and his son. He did kill that kid. Generally, he doesn't. But there's a lot of asshole kids in Haddonfield. And maybe Michael should reconsider his stance on kids. I'm just saying, these kids are kind of terrible in this movie.
Oh my God.
What is it? Are you okay?
That's what you get when you fuck with the Mulaney's.
This is where we see the demise of Marion, the beloved nurse in this series. And man, she's so iconic. I loved her in H2O, loved her in the original, loved her in Halloween 2 as well. But again, that's not a part of this timeline. But brutally killed. She took all of her shots at the windows. And when we see this shot of Michael Myers on top of the car, the same way he was kind of in the first one, again, it's more callbacks to the original, which I really love that. She goes to take a shot at Michael, but the chamber in that revolver, it's empty. Again, terrible gun choices in these movies. Absolutely horrible. The nurse that says she could shoot that Desert Eagle, she's done this shit before, absolutely cannot. Michael does something I've never seen him do, man. He kicks the door into her hand, which causes her poor trigger discipline to come back on her, and the gun turns on herself. Essentially, she turns the gun on herself and ends up taking her own life because, again, trigger discipline is something you have to have, and she does not have that. Now, one thing I love about this movie, it doesn't just give callback to the original movie, but it also actually gives a little bit of callback to Season of the Witch. When Cameron and Allison and Lonnie actually find the bodies of Marion, the doctor, and the nurse with the masks that they're wearing. I don't know if you noticed this, but that's a callback to the third movie, Season of the Witch, which really has nothing to do with Michael Myers, but it's kind of a cool little callback. I love all these things that just tie the series in together because this is a really fragmented series as far as Halloween. So things that tie it together and give it a little bit of continuity really is a nice touch. So to summarize where we are now, more hospital scenes, more reminiscing between Hawkins and Laurie Strode, more chaos at the hospital, Sheriff Barker breaks down, Evil dies tonight,
Evil dies tonight!
Laurie
finds out that Michael is actually alive.
What? Karen! We didn't know for sure. I didn't know what to tell you. Mom, I just want you to be okay.
Karen acts like the police in these movies actually really do something.
There are authorities who are trained to deal with exactly this. There's a system.
Michael does a little bit more playing. There's a brutal eye-popping scene with Big and Little John there. Although the shot where Michael is staring out the window, because this is another thing that they like to call out to in this movie, that's another thing they love to say, is how Michael as a little kid would stare out his sister's window. Now he does it as an adult. They do it in the beginning scene as well when they explore the Myers home. So it's a really cool thing, but you actually see an outside shot of Michael walking towards Little John to finish him off after he killed Big John there. We see a scene where Oscar's mom, remember him from the original movie, he gets impaled on the fence there in a brutal kill, trying to escape Michael Myers. We see his mom walk by the morgue that's completely open. Oscar's uncovered, and we actually see a shot of Oscar there. R.I.P. Oscar, man, because he was actually a kind of a cool character. I actually kind of liked him in the 2018 movie. So Cameron and Allison go back to the Myers house along with Lonnie, and Cameron's kill, the whole closet shot. Again, you get a shot of this brown closet, and if you're looking at it, you're like, it's just a closet. As Cameron is going through the house, freaking terrified, he sees his dad up in the ceiling hanging out, not in a good way. But this closet, again, looks very similar to the closet in the original movie where Michael is trying to get to Laurie Strode. So again, I love the call-outs in this movie. But there are some things that I really don't like. And by the way, Cameron's kill is a head spinner of a moment. It really is. Then Karen, Allison set Michael up with some terrible dialogue.
It was right here. Your house. Can you feel it?
The original Sheriff Brackett, they gave him this line here.
Hey, Michael, it's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Some of the dialogue in this movie, I understand what they're trying to do, but some of the acting from our returning characters is not as good as it was in the first movie. I really don't like some of the acting in this movie. I also don't like some of the lines that are thrown out there because they can be super corny, fall flat, and I just don't care for a lot of that stuff. And seemingly as Michael Myers gets the absolute shit kicked out of him, nobody thinks, shoot him in the head. Nobody thinks, stab him in the head. Until after all is said and done, we have like 20 people circling Michael Myers. Some leave once they think he's dead, including Karen. That's when Michael takes the knife that is out of his back, slits Brackett's throat, actually like chunks the knife at him, kills the OG Sheriff Brackett, kills Tommy Doyle, kills a lot of people. There's a lot of slow motion kind of awesome kills in this moment, and Michael ends up back in his house where Karen is looking out that same window in the Myers house. Michael comes up behind her and seemingly finishes her off, and we have a shot of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode both looking into the camera. Both of them setting up for the final movie. And I gotta tell you, man, this movie as a whole, very awesome. I actually like it more than the 2018 movie. And I enjoy the 2018 movie. There's just some dry moments with the journalists, and there's just some things I really didn't like about the movie. I didn't like how they portrayed Laurie Strode, because Laurie Strode is always, I guess in that timeline, we haven't seen her since the first film. So she's dealing with all these psychological things. I just kind of think they made her out to be a little more crazy than she should have been, if that makes any sense. I like the fact that she's an armed and dangerous type of woman. Hate the gun selection that they chose in the movie, but I don't know, man. I just kind of feel like they made her kind of weird in the first one. Does that make sense? I was looking for something a little more powerful from her. I don't know. It just kind of fell flat, but I do like the 2018 movie. Just some parts of it fell flat for me. But this one here is really, they did a nice job. The pacing is good. Very few dry moments. Even the filler moments they did with the inmate that's mistaken to be Michael Myers, some of that stuff is good. The moments I really don't like as much are the Tommy Doyle thing, and how he's leading this whole town. And I get the premise of it, because the town has been overshadowed by Michael Myers for so long, even when he was locked up. So I get the premise of it. I just think there's just some things I don't like about the movie, and that's pretty much it. Some of the dialogue, some of the callbacks, some of the original lines, just not a fan of that stuff. I just kind of feel like it felt, I feel like a lot of those lines fell flat. The kills are amazing. The kills are awesome. They're brutal. That's what you want from Michael Myers, and there's a lot of them too. There's a lot of them. James A. Janisse is going to have a heck of a time with this movie. I'm telling you, dude. There are some awesome kills in this movie, dude. Do a great job of mixing it up with Michael Myers, which is something, to be honest with you, as much as I love him in his slasher movies, I love Michael Myers, a lot of times it's just really kind of simple, stab, head tilt, stare. We get some different things in this movie, which I really do enjoy. So that's my review of Halloween Kills, man. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.